This video is about CELPIP Reading Part 3 and Part 4. Most students think these sections become difficult because the vocabulary is harder, the passages are longer, the options are confusing. But honestly, that's only the surface problem. The real difficulty of reading Part 3 and Part 4 is psychological. These sections secretly test your mental abilities that almost nobody talks about. And today I'm going to show you exactly what those hidden abilities are using examples. Okay? So, the hidden skill of viewpoint tracking. Reading part 3 becomes dangerous because the passage usually contains multiple opinions, changing perspectives, contrasting viewpoints, and layered arguments. And many students mentally lose track halfway through reading. So, the first hidden skill of part 3 is viewpoint tracking. Okay, let's see an example here. You can also pause the video and go through the example. In recent years, several cities have introduced electric scooter sharing programs as an alternative form of urban transportation. Supporters argue that scooters provide a convenient and environmentally friendly solution for short distance travel, particularly in crowded downtown areas where traffic congestion continues to increase. However, critics claim that scooter sharing programs create safety concerns for both riders and pedestrians. Some hospital officials have reported an increase in injuries involving inexperienced riders who fail to wear protective equipment or ignore traffic regulations. Local business owners have expressed mixed opinions regarding the program. While some believe scooter users are more likely to visit shops and restaurants in busy commercial streets. Others argue that improperly parked scooters block sidewalks and discourage customers from entering stores. City officials have stated that they are currently reviewing regulations that may include stricter parking rules, reduced speed limits, and designated riding zones in high traffic areas. And the question here is which group is most concerned about public safety? And you have the four options here. Now, this is where many students mentally collapse because part 3 is no longer simple information retrieval, right? The brain must continuously track who believes what, which opinion belongs to which group, which concern connects to which argument. Now, weak readers, they often get distracted by city officials reviewing regulations and other terminologies because regulations sound connected to safety, right? But the passage clearly says critics claim that scooter sharing programs create safety concerns, and hospital officials reported an increase in injuries, right? So that directly supports hospital officials and critics of the programs. So, part 3 secretly tests can your brain organize multiple viewpoints without any confusion? And the second skill is argument balancing. This is also one of the hidden ability nobody talks about in reading part 3, argument balancing. Many students emotionally choose the side they personally agree with, and that becomes dangerous. Okay, with the same example, if the question is like, what can be inferred about local business owners? And you have the options here, four options. You have to go through that. And then you have to look carefully at the passage. Local business owners have expressed mixed opinions, right? Can you see here? Yes, so that means some support, some oppose. But emotionally, students often exaggerate the situation and they choose extreme answers like oppose entirely or should be banned immediately, right? Because the human brain naturally prefers stronger conclusion. But remember, part 3 rewards balanced interpretation. That is why this section secretly tests can you stay logically balanced instead of emotionally dramatic. Okay? And this is a skill for reading part 4, which is abstract reasoning. The English become harder. Many of you feel it that way, right? When it comes to part 4 and reading. But actually, the biggest change is not vocabulary. The biggest change is abstract thinking. Okay? Let me explain you here. So here is an example. Researchers studying workplace productivity have increasingly questioned the traditional belief that longer working hours automatically produce better results. While many organizations continue to reward employees who remain available outside standard office hours, recent studies suggest that excessive workloads may reduce both creativity and long term efficiency. Some psychologists argue that mental fatigue caused by prolonged periods of concentration limits the brain's ability to process complex information effectively. As a result, employees may complete tasks more slowly despite spending additional hours at work. Other experts believe that workplace culture plays an equally important role. In some industries, employees may feel pressure to appear constantly busy in order to demonstrate commitment, even when extended working hours provide little measurable benefit to productivity. Several companies have recently experimented with shorter work weeks and flexible scheduling systems. Early findings indicate that employees in these environments often report improved job satisfaction, reduced stress levels, and in certain cases, higher overall productivity. And the question here is, what is the main purpose of the passage? You have four options here. So, this is where reading part 4 becomes psychologically difficult because the answer is not sitting in one sentence, right? Because it is asking the main purpose of the passage. So, your brain must understand the overall discussion, what is the central argument, and it should understand multiple perspectives, what is the author's purpose. Weak readers, they focus on isolated emotion ideas like criticize companies. But strong readers, they step back and they see the bigger structure of the passage. So this passage is mainly presenting the research, discussing different viewpoints, explaining the perspectives. So the best option is to explain different perspectives regarding workplace productivity. So this is why part 4 secretly tests, can your brain think abstractly instead of sentence by sentence? Okay? And you have to be very much aware of this particular skill. Now, another important skill for part 4 is mental endurance under complexity. The biggest hidden skill in reading part 4, because part 4 passages are longer, denser, and they are mentally heavier. So your brain must continuously track arguments, it should identify the tone, it should interpret the meaning, and it should eliminate traps, and then you have to maintain concentration. So many students experience invisible mental fatigue halfway through the passage. They get tired and they lose the concentration. That's why they suddenly start rereading, they forget earlier ideas, they're confused with the viewpoints, and they miss logical connections. So, this is not always an English problem, right? Sometimes the brain is simply overloaded. Okay, so remember to train your brain while you're doing the practice. Okay, so after today's video, I want you to stop seeing reading part 3 and part 4 as harder reading sections, because secretly these tasks measures viewpoint tracking, logical balance, abstract reasoning, mental organization, cognitive endurance under complexity. And once you understand these hidden abilities, you stop approaching these sections like normal reading tasks, right? And you start realizing CELPIP reading part 3 and part 4 are actually advanced thinking test. Okay? That's all for today's video. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more CELPIP tips. See you in the next video. Bye bye.